Hello film fans, and welcome to ClassAct, a series where we break down movies sequence by sequence in order to better understand how they were written. In this episode, we're tackling my favorite James Bond film of all time, 2012's Skyfall, written by Neal Purvis, Robert Wade, and John Logan. Now, Skyfall is the definition of a classic Bond film. The suits, the cars, the iconic villain, but for me personally, what makes it so special is that despite it being a James Bond film, it's not just a film about James Bond. And I mean that literally. Skyfall has two protagonists, James Bond and his boss M, which is actually part of the reason why the movie's so long. But that said, if you plot out the film, it does still follow the traditional three-act structure we know and love, with the first act ending at minute 38 and the second act ending at minute 103. The inciting incident happens at minute 21, the midpoint at minute 68, and the climax at minute 115. Alright, so let's go beat by beat through the structure of the film, starting with the first 2 minutes, the opening teaser. Skyfall kicks off in classic Bond fashion, with 007 already hunting after a shadowy new villain with a secret identity who stole some kind of thing. That thing in this case is a top secret list of the names of all the undercover MI6 agents out in the field. James Bond runs off to find the man who stole it, sending us racing into the first leg of Act 1 from minutes 2 through 21, the introduction of the heroes. We start with hero number 1. In a big action scene, James Bond chases after the bad guy who stole the list, a mercenary named Patrice, and right away you start to sense that this 007 movie's a little different from all the others, as the action is both literally and metaphorically built around character. For example, Patrice runs away on a standard issue police bike while Bond has to chase after him on kind of an old rusty cruiser. Bond refuses to tap out even after getting shot in the chest, and through this action we learn his fatal flaw. He's getting older and slower, but still refusing to let go of the ego that made him a superstar player in his youth. On M's command, Bond's partner Moneypenny accidentally shoots him in the line of duty and Patrice gets away. 007 has lost his first fight ever, and it's official, folks. James Bond is getting old. Cool opening credits, Adele song, and we're right back into it with hero number 2, James Bond's boss M, who's wrestling with this exact same theme in her own life. 007's death could arguably be considered her fault, i.e. it's a potential sign from the universe that she's getting old and losing a step. 3 months after Bond's death, a newer, younger chairman has arrived to quote-unquote help her retire, or in other words, fire her. But just like her favorite field agent, M stubbornly refuses to let go of the glory days of her past.
You should leave with dignity.
Oh, to hell with dignity. I'll leave when the job's done.
Little bonus here, but look how awesome Ray Fiennes' performance is in this scene as M leaves his character Mallory, the new chairman, standing with his chest out like a little kid trying to be tough. This movie's great. Anyway, driving back to the MI6 office, we arrive at the inciting incident at minute 21 as the mystery villain hacks into M's personal computer and bombs the MI6 building right in front of her eyes. Whoever's doing this doesn't just know who she is, they're sending her a personal message. Meanwhile, hiding on a beach in Turkey where he's drowning himself in booze and apparently playing with scorpions a lot, Bond catches the bombing on TV and makes a decision to come out of hiding and return to M's side for another mission. Now, as always with the inciting incident, it's important to note what the universe is asking of both our heroes in this moment. In their old lives, they were Phil Jackson and Michael Jordan, an unstoppable team at the height of their game. But now, the universe is challenging them to do something impossible, let go of their pasts, and admit they're getting old.
So this is it. We're both played out.
Speak for yourself.
Naturally, they're both going to have some resistance to this, and in the next sequence, minutes 21 to 38, that's exactly what we get. Bond arrives at the new, grungy backup headquarters of MI6, where M puts him through a series of tests in order to get him reapproved for active service. Once again, we see physical action symbolizing theme, as he tries and fails to keep up with tests that he would have easily passed when he was younger. Meanwhile, M's putting on her own show of resistance, forging the results of 007's tests to make it look like he passed, even though the numbers clearly show that he's unfit for active service. Mallory obviously isn't so convinced.
It's a young man's game. The only shame would be not admitting it until it's too late.
But luckily for our heroes, M is still the boss, and she tells Mallory just as much.
As long as I'm head of this department, I'll choose my own operatives.
Once again, Mallory begrudgingly stands down, and with the scene now set, we swing right into minute 38, the end of Act 1. Tracing the old bullet fragments from Patrice's gun, M gives James Bond his new mission: get to Shanghai, kill Patrice, and find out who has that list.
007. You are ready for this?
Yes, Mom.
It's time for Act 2. The second act of Skyfall can be looked at in 3 segments, the first of which runs about 13 minutes from 38 to 51. In this sequence, James Bond enters a brand new world of espionage with strange and unfamiliar rules, where innovation and youth, both of which Bond is losing, are the most important weapons in the game. This discovery starts with his meeting of Q, the surprisingly young new technology specialist at MI6.
You must be joking. You still have spots.
I'll hazard I can do more damage on my laptop sitting in my pajamas before my first cup of Earl Grey than you can do in a year in the field.
Of course, Bond respectfully disagrees with this philosophy.
Youth is no guarantee of innovation.
And as a gesture of compromise, Q gives him his weapons, a simple gun and a simple radio. While this may lack the usual razzle-dazzle we've come to expect from a 007 film, honestly, it's way cooler. The hero's philosophy is now physically being represented by his weapons, meaning when he inevitably uses that tiny radio later, it'll automatically have thematic meaning to the audience. In Shanghai, Bond tracks down Patrice and follows him during a hit job, struggling every step of the way to keep up like he used to when he was young. In one of the most beautifully shot action scenes I've probably ever watched, Bond loses his grip on Patrice, sending him falling to his death before finding out the key piece of information he needs: who is Patrice working for? Luckily, rifling through Patrice's stuff, he finds the clue he needed anyway: Patrice's payment from his employer, a poker chip to an exclusive casino in Macau. Meanwhile, back in London, we get a quick check-in with the mystery villain, who hacks back into M's computer and releases the first 5 names of the list onto YouTube. As M watches the footage, helpless to prevent it from happening, we enter the next sequence, minutes 51 to 68, where Bond follows the clue from Patrice's poker chip all the way to Macau. After a quick scene with Moneypenny in his hotel room,
sometimes the old ways are the best.
Bond goes straight to the aforementioned casino, where he cashes in Patrice's poker chip and attracts the attention of Séverine, who hired Patrice to do the hit job in Shanghai. Asking to meet her employer, Bond learns that Séverine is being held captive by the mystery villain and promises that if she'll introduce him, he'll kill her boss and set her free. Of course, if he wants to do that, he'll have to survive Séverine's 3 gigantic bodyguards and escape the casino in one piece. Her boat leaves in an hour, and she'll see him there. With the help of his sidekick Moneypenny, Bond kicks some bodyguard butt and makes it over to the boat dock just in time for minute 68, the midpoint of the film, where Bond links back up with Séverine and makes love to her in the shower. In this moment, Bond has proven the universe wrong. He got the girl, killed the bad guys, and now has achieved what nobody thought he could, tracking down the mystery villain. Unfortunately, the victory is short-lived, as we now enter the back half of Act 2, minutes 68 to 103, in which just about everything that could possibly go wrong does. First, as a result of the list getting released publicly, the Prime Minister now calls on M to testify before Parliament and fight for her job. Meanwhile, the boat crew captures Bond and delivers him to the mystery villain, a former MI6 agent named Raul Silva, who my wife thinks looks like Fred Armisen from the Californians. Silva informs Bond that his mentor M has been lying to him. He didn't pass any of his tests, and she sent him on this mission knowing he would likely die. Silva murders Séverine and purposely lets Bond capture him, there's that little radio by the way, leading to a brief face-to-face with hero number 2, M, where he confronts her for abandoning him when he was an agent himself. And it keeps getting worse, as M gets smeared in her testimony before Parliament while Bond and Q attempt to hack into Silva's computer, which is naturally exactly what he wanted, and he hacks them instead, opening all the doors to basically everything everywhere. Silva escapes, Bond chases after him, Silva tries to kill Bond with a subway train and storms directly into Parliament to shoot and kill M once and for all. Luckily, with the help of Moneypenny and Mallory, Bond manages to get M out of there, bringing us to the low point at minute 103, in which Bond and M have lost everything. MI6 is destroyed, Parliament is under attack, and they no longer have anyone they can trust but each other. In this moment, Bond makes a decision to take M back to the only place that's safe, the one place he would never have gone at the beginning of the film, his childhood home. And so begins what for me is the most special sequence of Skyfall, the beginning of Act 3. In most movies, the ride into battle isn't more than a couple of minutes long, as the characters basically just need to hop on their horses and head out. But in this movie, the ride into battle is a whopping 12 minutes, and it's easily the most important part of the film because it's where everything pays off. First, Q and Mallory, the very people who told Bond and M that their philosophy was wrong in the beginning, now see the hero's point of view and band together to help them mount a final defense the old-fashioned way. Meanwhile, Bond and M drive deep into the country, returning to the place where James Bond was raised, Skyfall Lodge. We get a glimpse into where 007 came from, meeting the man that raised him, Kincaid the Gamekeeper, who hands Bond his father's old hunting knife and announces the hero philosophy one last time.
Sometimes the old ways are the best.
By the way, remember that knife because it's coming back in a second. And finally, M and Bond, in their own special language, express their love for each other one last time. And so begins the climax at minute 115 as Silva and his goons arrive at Skyfall Lodge. Talk about action symbolizing theme as Bond gets the battle started using the headlight guns on the original 1965 007 Aston Martin. Fighting on their home turf against New Age soldiers, the Old People Squad dispenses with the first wave like they're swatting flies until Silva comes in with the heavy artillery and forces M to flee as he sets James Bond's childhood on fire. Of course, Bond responds by literally and metaphorically blowing his childhood up. Meanwhile, Silva chases M to a little church on the property, and just as he's about to kill her, 007 stabs him in the back with his father's old hunting knife, aka the old ways. But somewhere along the line, M was shot, and she dies in 007's arms. In this moment, as we see James Bond cry for the first time, the heroes finally do what the universe asked of them in the very beginning: they let go of their past. In the last 3 minutes, Bond bids a final farewell to M and says hello to his new team, Moneypenny and Mallory, aka the new M. And that's it. Skyfall in 3 acts. Watching this movie, the big thing I always take away is how everything, right down to little details like props and blocking, are all molded around these ideas of character and theme. All 007 movies are fun, but this 007 movie is meaningful, which is why I personally think it belongs in the conversation when discussing the greatest Bond films of all time. I love to study this stuff, so please do leave your own analyses down below in the comments, and feel free to subscribe for more breakdowns of movies in the 3-act model and beyond. Thanks for watching, and see you next time on ClassAct.